All right, so thank you guys for having me. I'm real excited to be part of your inaugural event. I'm really impressed with the turnout. I used to attend the ones in Austin and in Nashville, and it's not anywhere near this big, so you guys should be pretty proud of yourselves, especially for the first night. That's really impressive. I go to a lot of shows. We exhibit a lot, so I've always wanted something more centralized, so I think it's a great idea for you guys to try and create that community here so that it'll attract hopefully a big conference. I know I would really like to not have to go to New York City or Vegas every single conference, so I appreciate what you guys are doing. Just out of curiosity, how many of you guys are SEOs who don't work for 3D? Tony and Jeff, this is your pool of applicants right here.
Stop that.
Yeah. All right, so has anybody used Raven? Are you a current customer or tried it? A few of you. I'm not going to make this a commercial until later, so don't worry. I'm going to be showing you a lot of different types of tools. I think from start to finish, there's a lot that we need to cover here, and hopefully, if you have any questions or if you want to see any of these again, that's actually it's not up there yet. I forgot to do that, but after this, it will be available on SlideShare where we have all of our presentations. So don't worry about writing down all these tools. I've been told in the past not to just list a bunch of tools. You guys wanted me to narrow it down to a few of them for you, so I tried to do that. I'm sure you will find that there are dozens and dozens of tools we've found. Just keeping track of the different SEO tools in our community or in our industry. I mean, there's one that springs up like every week, so I'm sure you guys can find something that meets your needs. But when it comes to picking tools, I decided to break this into sort of a pyramid because there's 4 different needs that you have when you're looking for a tool. I think at first you're looking for the research stage, so you need to figure out what keywords to be targeting, what links to go out and get. But then your needs change a little bit. Then you move on to the campaign level. So now that you know what keywords you're targeting, what links you want to go after and get, you need something to manage that process. Then you take it one step further. Now you need to keep track of all of that, right? You need to know, how have your rankings changed if that's what you focus on? How is your analytics evolving? Are people talking about you more? I mean, whatever you guys choose to focus on. And then finally, reporting. That's the element that most people hate because it takes forever to do. You're trying to become an Excel guru and really you're not. And so you're trying to make all these fancy charts and PowerPoint and go through all that. So there's not a lot of tools out there for reporting. I'll show you what Ravens does, but they're starting to come. And I think you're going to see that a lot more in the industry. I know SEO.mov, who's also in the industry, they have reporting now. So you're starting to get those options, and I think you're going to see that you'll be able to save a lot of time going forward. So if we break this pyramid into a couple different groups, down at the bottom level, and I'm going to try and cover tools for most of these. I don't want to bore you guys to death with tool after tool after tool, so I tried to inject a little strategy in it as well. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we have our content and keyword research tools. I also threw competitor analysis in there. That's something that I preach a lot about because I think that it's just free advice that's sitting out there. So I have a little bit of tools they could be using in that area too that we'll cover. And then you'll see at the next level that there's pay-per-click and social media tools in there. And you might be thinking, what the hell is that doing in there? This is supposed to be SEO tools. And I'll show you kind of my logic behind that. And then we'll move on to our analytics, conversion, and reporting stuff. But what I think is happening in this industry, and I'm sure you guys have seen it as well, is that it's evolving. So we're not just having to focus on SEO to get our work done. We're having to start to tap into the social realm, right? Now that Google forces everybody who signs up for an account to have a Google Plus account, you're having to think a little bit more about that. You can learn a lot from it even if you weren't doing it before. Hopefully you guys have been paying attention there. Same within the pay-per-click area. I'm going to teach you a couple ways that you could be using it to benefit your SEO as well. But all these different areas, even if you're at a big agency like this, you need to be working together and you need your tools to support that. The problem that we have, and what we were trying to solve at Raven too, was everybody's having to go to 20 different places to get their work done. And that's not efficient. I'm trying to send around Excel spreadsheets to everybody, make sure you're working with the most updated file, that you're not duplicating any work that I've already been doing. And so I think that's where this tool landscape is going, so we're evolving to make your guys' life easier. Content and keyword tools, this is the easiest one, so I won't spend too much time on that. With keyword tools, in my opinion, what you should be looking for, I have been doing SEO for a long time now, and if I was evaluating a tool or a tool set, this is really what I'd be looking at to make sure it provides me with. Data sources. I think this is the most important thing you need from a tool set. You need something that's going to give you more than one set of data, because you can't trust just a single set of data. If you just go to the AdWords keyword tool and it tells you something searched for 30,000 times in a month, you can't actually believe that. If you've ever ranked #1 for that keyword, even let's say you get 40% of those clicks, like when AOL leaked their data and said that you got, that you don't actually get that much. So you need a couple other third parties to let you know what they are seeing. I know it doesn't come directly from Google, so if you use something like SEMrush, they are using third-party search engines to provide you with this data, but it's going to give you a better idea of what you can actually expect, so you can decide, is it worth my time? Easy list building and tagging. If any of you have ever tried to build out a recommendation for which keywords you should be targeting on each page, wouldn't it be nice if you could just tag them all so you'd always have them as a group? So if you go to a client, you can say, all right, I want to focus on these 1 to 3 keywords for each page, and then you have it already organized without you having to do any of that manual labor. And then insights I'll be talking a little bit about soon. With content, what we're looking for are tools to help us with content creation, because good content is worth paying for, and that's what I'm going to talk about in just a little bit. Whether you're paying $40 for a piece of content, or maybe you're able to do it in-house if you're lucky enough to have a good staff for that, you need some kind of tool to help you with that process. And for me, when I look at content tools, I'm looking at them to let me know what the anchor text is, so I don't have to go through and look at every single link. I want something to crawl the page for me and let me know what links we're using and what text we're using around them. Duplicate content checker, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then the last one I think people overlook a lot, content reading level. I don't know if you guys saw it, but over on Search Engine Land, I want to say it was in September or October, they actually had a study that came out that it came directly from Google that said we actually looked at the reading level of the content on the page. We want to make sure that this is actually quality content that we're serving up to our user, and that it's a good fit based on their search history. And so nobody's actually looking at that, and it's something there's a lot of tools out there that can just analyze the content for you. It might tell you, hey, this is at a 10th grade reading level, so hey, this is somewhere in the middle, this is somewhere that's going to be good for us. You want to make sure it's not too advanced. And one that I forgot to include in here that I'll mention now, it's off the top of my head. There's a really cool tool out there, it's free, and it's called the WeWe calculator. And the idea behind it is you run your site through it, and it's not dirty. I like that that's exactly where you go. The idea behind it is it's going to let you know how often you're talking about your own company versus talking to your visitor. And that's a big problem with a lot of us. When somebody goes to our page, if we just keep talking about how great we are, and we never actually identify with any problems that they have, that's a problem. And this calculator will really put it in perspective. It'll say, hey, 80% of the time, you're using words like we, or whatever your company name is, and so they'll be able to put some insight into that for you. All right, so keyword data sources. This one, I'm sure you guys are very familiar. This is a tool set that's been around for a very long time. You have your SpyFu, your SEMrush, Word Tracker, WordStream. These are all really solid tools. Like I said before, making sure that you check multiple data sources, that's where you're going to want to go. This is where I think the value is, keyword insights, and I think you're going to start to see this a lot more from those other keyword research providers as well. SEOMoz has a great tool that helps check the strength of the search results for you, so could I realistically rank for this keyword given my current client site? So they'll analyze the search for you, give you an idea of just how competitive this particular search result is. And then with Raven, one thing that we do is we'll actually take it a step further, and we want to let you know where some opportunities are that you might be overlooking. So traditionally when you do keyword research, you're looking for more than just search volume, hopefully. You're looking at conversions, engagement with your audience. And so our tool, and you could do this manually too, just by going in your analytics, actually looking at what your bounce rates are for particular keywords. If somebody were to find your page using a particular keyword, are they actually finding what they're looking for? Or maybe you should be targeting it on a different page. So trying to get these insights so you can better target your campaign would be very valuable. This study that comes out from Hitwise just about every quarter, I think, is really interesting. And it's looking at the percentage of US clicks by number of keywords. And what we're seeing is over the last year, people are getting more and more and more specific. So instead of using 3 or 4 words, as you can see, that's been dropping down in the last year. And look at the one word. It's gone up 4% in the last year. And I think that's a lot, it has to do with the types of search results that Google's providing now. You have your instant search, so people are able to find it in just one word. And so a lot of us, we used to think, hey, if we were to target longer tail keywords, it might benefit us because it might be a little bit easier to rank for. We know we're on target, but maybe now you need to start stepping back and considering, do we need to go broader in order to reach our audience, since they might not be searching that in depth anymore. When it comes to content creation, these are some of the best tools out there if you do not have a writing staff to help you with this, and you don't know a good consultant. I know there are some of them in here, so they'd be more than happy to help you. Brian Eisenberg, he highly recommends Writer Access. I think he might be on the board, but he says that it's super high quality content. It's not too expensive. Text brokers only they actually base the price of the article based on how long you need it to be. You can tell them what keyword to be focusing on, so you can get this kind of content to help get it out there faster, so you can rank for more keywords, you can target more links, you can get more guest blog posts out there, and you can review it. You don't just have to accept what they give you. That's sort of the problem that you might run into with an Elance. Text broker, you get to review the content that they submit to you, and then you can say, all right, I don't like this, or this one's going to work for us, we'll actually pay for this one. So there are a lot of opportunities out there for you to get this content. And then my favorite part is the content and anchor text analysis. So if you haven't used a tool called Screaming Frog yet, it is extremely powerful. They're UK based. I want to say it's like a $100 fee. It's a software that you actually download, and it is amazing. They will actually crawl your entire site. They'll let you know what every title tag is, every H1, every link that you have on there. It even looks at your external backlinks as well, and a nice summary. I mean, they separate it for you, so you're not having to dig through it like we used to all do with like Xenu or something like that. So you'll see where the broken links are. I really like to run this on competitor sites as well. I like to see what keywords they're focusing on in their anchor text, see if they actually know what they're doing from an SEO perspective, because they might be just getting lucky. You know, we might see them in there and they're not actually targeting anything, so there might be some opportunity for you to capitalize on it. I actually like to run this on what you used to be able to do in Google, and there's some instances where you can do something similar, is if you were logged out, so you don't have the personalized results, and you used to be able to grab the search result link, so whenever you search for like SEO tools, go up, grab the URL, and you could run it through one of these tools, and they'll spider the top 10 results for you, so you could be looking at all of them at once, which would save you a ton of time. And I know I do that for keyword research as well. Certain tools that will allow you to put in a URL, you'll see that in like an SEM Rush, so they'll analyze the page content. You can do this for Wikipedia pages too. I like to go to wherever I can find the heaviest pieces of content and run them through there so I can get some ideas behind it and see what that search volume is. Now I want to talk about the site structure. So one of the things that I've noticed over the last couple of years is we've all gotten really sloppy. We know the basics around what the search engines are looking for. We know about URL structure, we know about canonicalization, and we know all the basic structural items behind our websites that the search engines care about. But lately it seems like we're overlooking a lot of the most recent developments that the search engines are saying to us. They're saying, hey, pay attention to this. This is really valuable, and we can learn a little bit more about your website if you would just implement these best practices. So the two that I want to talk a little bit about are Living Standard HTML, which is also just HTML5, with semantic elements, and then also structured data, specifically microdata. And so I'm going to show you a couple tools that you can use if you're not familiar with it. Don't be scared when you're hearing all this different microdata. That sounds really sophisticated. There are tools out there that really simplify it for you, so don't be afraid. When it comes to semantic CSS, the whole idea behind it is, we used to just describe, like you'll see in this div up here where it says yellow curve, we used to just describe colors or shapes in our CSS. Well, now the search engines are looking at that, right? They're actually seeing the CSS, and we need to be descriptive about it so they know what the heck this piece of content is. Is it a help box? Is it our main article? Is it blog comments? I mean, we need to be able to see what that is with the search engines. And that's where Living Standard HTML comes into play. And what we do here is, when it comes to semantic elements, what we're looking at is we're trying to break up our page to the search engine. So we'll separate our navigation for them, show them what the header is, the footer, and this is basically what a basic website would be structured as. So if you have a blog or something like that, this is really how you would structure it in your HTML. You'd want to say, all right, this is the section or article, this is where our footer is, and so again, they can prioritize what content they're looking at, and that only helps you because they're getting to your content faster, so when it comes to ranking your page, they know you're even that more relevant. And if you want some help doing this, there's html5boilerplate.com. This is a really good site that you can they'll help you build it, they'll help you walk you through it, so if you aren't that savvy when it comes to the development side, this tool will hopefully give you a little bit of guidance to make it a little bit easier for you. But there's a lot of great documentation for it, so if you aren't looking at it already, or if you have some clients that you're trying to figure out what you can do to try and take their their site to the next level. This is an area I definitely look at because the search engines have come out and said, hey, this would help us. And if they're, with as rare as they say, confirm that they're looking at something, I think we should take them up on it when they actually mention it. And that's really what leads me into the next part, which is schema. So if you haven't played around with schema.org, the idea behind it is that this is great for e-commerce websites, retailers. You can actually tell them, all right, this is what the product is. This is what, let's say you run IMDb. That would be awesome. You can actually categorize what reviews are of the movies, who the actors are, and it will specifically call it out to the search engine so they have a better understanding of what you're doing with this content. If they see the schema in there, the microdata, instead of it just being a traditional word that they would read, now they know this is an author or this is an actor. And so I want to pay special attention to this when I'm actually ranking this site. And so if you go to schema.org, they have a list of a ton of different schemas, and they don't actually help you set any of it up. So you go there and you're like, Jesus, I have no idea how to do any of that. I've never done any programming. Well, we decided to create a free tool to simplify that, and it's just called Schema Creator. So if you go to schema-creator.org, this is just, it's free. We have, I think, what is it, like 6 or 7 of the most popular schemas there, and all you do is fill out a basic form, just like you would on like a contact page. And what we'll do is we'll generate the code that you need to put on your site so that you'll be using those schemas. So if you do have, especially an e-commerce site or somebody who's trying to leverage book reviews or any of that market, this will help you do that. And it's free to use, and it's something that you should definitely be doing, because when the search engines all come together and say, hey, we're all going to agree to look at this, you need to be paying attention to it. So competitor analysis, like I said, this is something that I speak a lot about. I just really like that icon, so I try and incorporate it whenever I can. And it seems somewhat appropriate. If you want to learn a little bit more about competitive analysis, a lot of people wonder if it's worth the time. I think it's invaluable, and I speak a lot about it, and so I made just a simple guide. It's about 4 pages long, and it has examples on what you should be looking at, offers some other helpful articles around it, because again, it is free advice on how people are optimizing their site. You can learn a lot instead of having to invest hours, trying a certain strategy. You can learn how it affected your competitors, so you don't have to waste your time doing it. So if you just go to this URL, raventools.com/competitive SEO analysis, you can see the guide there, and it'll walk you through it. But if I could just give you a couple quick tips, because like I said, I really am passionate about it. With Screaming Frog, like I said before, analyze their site. Figure out what they're targeting. Actually, I'll take it to the next slide. What I really like to focus on is their backlink profile. Which specific blog posts are getting the most attention on their site? What pages are they focusing the most on building links to? And what we built is a tool called Research Central. The idea behind it is we take data from SEMrush, SEOmoz, and Majestic SEO, and we mashed it all together to give you 3 data sets in one view. And we can see some really cool things behind it. So in this example, what you'll see up here is the TLD distribution. And while this is useful both from a competitive standpoint, it's also useful for your own site. So let's say you're international, like let's say Raven is. Right now our site's only in English. All of our blog posts are in English, but we might see, and this was run on raventools.com, let's say that .jp, that starts to increase a lot faster. Well, now I need to make the argument to my boss, hey, not only do we have customers in Japan, but we have a lot of visitors coming through there. Maybe it'd be smart for us to translate all of our articles into Japanese, so maybe we could start getting links from that area as well. So you can kind of get a feel for what markets they're playing in, and everybody overlooks everything outside the US, so make sure you're paying attention to that. There's a lot more that this tool does. I'll show you that later. I don't want to spend all of our time on it. But you could do this with any of those tools, especially Open Site Explorer. I'm sure you guys have used it. Very powerful tool. Okay, so when it comes to competitor monitoring, this is where we need to start using our social media tools. This is where we start to see that intersection. In addition to, obviously Google integrating like +1, and you can actually see recommendations from your friends. I think they have Twitter down in the search results as well. So you're seeing a lot of that social interaction. Well, I'm a big fan of competitor monitoring and just monitoring in general, because there's a lot of really cool things that we can learn from it. So outside of the traditional, are people saying good things, bad things about us, some things that I really like to focus on from a monitoring perspective are tracking keyword and brand mentions, especially from your competitors. Don't just put in, let's say don't just put in Raven Tools, put in Raven Tools guest post, or put in a specific person's name, put in Taylor Pratt guest post, so I can see everywhere that they're going out and guest blogging. That way I know which sites are open to it, and I can match whatever link that they just got, hopefully get a couple better ones in there as well. Especially with keywords as well. This way you can find additional forums to be participating on. I mean, try and get really specific with this. Some of the tools out there will allow you to segment by influencer rating. So what they'll do is they'll look at, Twitter I think is the one that they all use, and they'll look at their follower count. You can say, I don't want to see anything from anyone unless they have at least 10,000 followers on Twitter. That way I know when that person tweets, people listen, and I need to reach out to them and start getting in front of their audience. And they're an influencer that I need to start reaching out to, maybe kick them to the top of our affiliate program, get them talking about us. We saw that with our own tool set. A lot of a couple major SEO influencers started writing about Raven, and then we started seeing more and more people signing up for it. So it can have a huge impact without a lot of work on your end. I use this to find great content and link bait ideas. The real-time social media monitors are awesome because you can see, all right, there's a huge spike like when Not Provided was launched. All of a sudden we see this huge spike and everybody talking about it. So what we did is we hurried and wrote a blog post about it as quickly as we could. Get that out there, and you can do that for whatever is hot in your industry. If you're seeing over the last week everybody's talking about a specific thing, then you know to write about it. When I did social for Chili's, one of the things that we used this for was figuring out, all right, what are people saying about us? When we saw a huge bump in everybody talking about how unhealthy the food was, it told us, hey, now we need to do some kind of marketing scheme around our healthy options and showing people that there are other things they can be talking about. Then we create contests around this so they can try and pick, which food do you think is the healthiest kind of, game or widget or whatever you want to do to start attracting those links that will help your SEO. Oh, and the simple one is, I hate it when people write about us and they don't link to us, and it drives me crazy, and I don't have time to sit around and go through them all. So this is picking up all the brand mentions. I can see if there's a link in it or not. If there is, if there isn't, it's the easiest link for you to go out and get, right? You just contact them and say, hey, kiss their ass a little bit, and then you can get the link from them. The major players in social media monitoring, I tried to, outside of Attentio, I tried not to put any in here that would really break the bank. Attentio, the benefit and reason why they're so expensive is because they're multilingual. And they do a really good job of filtering in those languages as well. And this is really important if we go back to that insights that I was showing you a little bit earlier, where we could see the different TLDs getting a lot of traffic. This can really help you keep track of that if you have that global product. But Social Mention is a great one that's free. They have manual sentiment analysis. You have to be careful with sentiment analysis because you could end up spending too much time going through and fixing all of the crappy sentiment analysis that was automatically applied. Like the example that I always saw was, this was especially the case in the food industry, was I hate X and X restaurant, but I love this one. And so when they see hate or they see suck, they automatically flag it as negative. And then you got to go through and find all these different mentions about it, and it ends up being a lot more work than just going through and doing it manually. But Uberview does a great job of filtering for you and has a really robust automatic sentiment analysis. Unfortunately, I hate it when companies make you contact them to get the price, and it drives me crazy. But they are one of those instances. Same with Sysomos. Brand's Eye is really cool too. Okay, so if you have, let's say you have a smaller team, you don't have enough time to go through all these different mentions, what Brand's Eye will do is they'll automatically escalate it for you based on the tone of that mention. So they'll tell you, all right, this is a red flag alert. This is getting a lot of attention. A lot of people are talking about whatever this particular article is. So hey, if something does occur and I need to respond in real time to put out that fire, they will have just kicked it up in priority for you without you having to go through and evaluate it yourself. So that can save you a ton of time. And when you look at tools, we see price tags of $150 a month, and we're like, oh, Jesus, that's expensive. For a lot of us, that's coming directly out of our pockets, and that's not fun. What you need to think about is how much time does it end up saving you. We get told a lot that Raven, even at $99, is really expensive, and I tell them, if it saves you an hour a month, don't you value your time at least $99 an hour? What do you end up charging your clients? And so this is something that you can use to justify that. And don't forget, you could always work it into buying contracts if you need to. There might be a monthly fee for them to get access to your tools, or for them to just have these tools available to them. All right, the other thing that I really like to do around social media, and this really helps from an SEO perspective, is event tracking and Google Analytics. I assume you all probably use Google Analytics, right? Well, event tracking is something that, it basically allows you to set up different types of goals without a destination URL. So, you have your normal goal where if I fill out let's say I buy a product, then I get a thank you page, that's your traditional goal. Well, Event will allow you to keep track of those goals even though they're not actually going anywhere, or maybe they're going off-site. And so what I like to do is I like to put event tracking around my blog commenting, around my social sharing options, so that I can keep track of in Google Analytics without having to go to every single blog post and say, all right, which one was shared the most? And which one gets the most tweets, which one gets the most comments, instead of having to look at every single one. Go in Google Analytics and then sort by it. And I can just see it in one view. I know what my top 5 blog posts are from a Facebook-like perspective or from a blog comment perspective, so I know what kind of content I should be focusing on. So that can be really valuable, and if you're not comfortable setting this kind of stuff up in Google Analytics, there's a tool that I'll show you in just a little bit. So, pay-per-click tools. Again, you're wondering, how much does this really impact SEO? Well, how many of you guys have really hated not provided, like want to punch it in the face hate? That would be me too. We have lost over 30% of our traffic to not provided, and when it comes to trying to figure out what the hell should I be targeting, which keywords are converting at the highest, when you have to go back and just see not provided, it just makes you so angry. And you know exactly why they're doing it. It's because they want you to pay for it, because they'll give it to you if you do it in pay-per-click. So of course, as soon as we got there, we're like, all right, now we got to go spend a little bit more money on AdWords, see, broaden our campaign so that we can just start tracking, what types of keywords people are interested in, instead of having a landing page. I know this goes against a lot of the logic behind a good pay-per-click campaign. I just want to direct it to the page I plan on targeting that keyword for in SEO, so I can find out pretty quickly, if I were to send traffic there with this keyword, are people going to convert? The other thing that I love to do with this is, so going back to that whole keyword estimate problem, you can always run a pay-per-click test just for impressions. You're not looking for clicks, you just want to see how often your ad is triggered, so you can get a better idea of, over the last month, how many impressions did I get? Well, there you go, you have a better estimate on the search volume for that particular keyword, so it's a quick way to get that good, that number a little bit more solidified. And finally, I use it to discover new keyword ideas. If you just run your search query report, you can see every single keyword that your ad triggered, and I can see if it's converting. So again, going back to your tools, and the way that agencies are currently structured, we have this problem where my SEO team, they don't talk to my pay-per-click team, they don't talk to my social media team, we're all divided. And that is super inefficient, and it's costing you guys a lot of opportunities. So we're looking for a way to give our team access to our pay-per-click tools without worrying that they're going to mess it up, because that's always the fear. Because if you mess it up in pay-per-click, maybe they actually add an extra 0 or something like that. It could get ugly really quickly. So, link building tools. How many of you guys hate doing link building too? I think that's really where I think the problem was with everybody getting sloppy with their site structure. Is we all said, all right, well, obviously if I just get a lot of links from trusted relevant sites with the anchor text I'm looking for, that's all I really need to do to really ramp up my SEO. And so we started neglecting the other areas. Well, this is where you're seeing a ton of tools come out. Lots of great data out there, lots of ways to help manage that. So you've probably heard of these 4 tools. If you haven't heard of BuzzStream, they're out of Texas. They've gotten a lot bigger. I don't know if they're still in there, but they were founded in Austin. It's a great way to manage contacts, manage your link database, and really all of these are moving towards that. SEO Moz and Majestic, they're the ones who have the best databases, the most robust out there. So Raven and BuzzStream are going more for the management aspect of that. But there's a couple other ones that I wanted to mention that are free, because we all like free tools too, that you might not have heard of. The first one is Drop My Link, and it's a little misleading. It sounds really spammy. But the idea behind it is they're going to tell you what types of search queries to perform. So if you go back to your old school days where you used to perform a lot of searches in Google trying to find link opportunities, these guys are going to give you a lot of different search queries you could search, like my keyword guest post, all that basic stuff that you don't have to try and keep track of all the different queries you should be looking at to find these link opportunities. And like I said, it's free, so it's definitely a valuable resource, good intern work. Ontolo, this is another good suite of management tools. They're a little bit newer on the market, so if you haven't heard of them, it's another great link management option. And then Lotus Jump, this is more of automating the whole process. The idea behind Lotus Jump is you're kind of outsourcing it a little bit, but they're actually a really solid group of guys. So I've met them a couple times, and it's not like outsourcing it to another country and you're just going to get like thousands of spammy links. This is actually really good stuff. And then some non-traditional tools. All right. So the problem with SEO is we never think outside the box. especially when it comes to links. We know, we just want to search for our particular keyword, find related blogs, websites, and forums. But there's other great ways to do it too. Has anybody ever used Hero? Help a reporter out? Awesome. I see a bunch of you guys are. That's really easy link building because all you do is you pay your subscription. They send you out a list and they organize it for you by topic. So it takes you like 30 seconds to skim this list. Some of them are really hilarious too. And they'll tell you it's a reporter who needs a source. You're an expert in these different areas, you know your clients are, and so you just respond. Usually it's like a paragraph of text you need to send them, and you get a link out of it. Really easy link building option. Costs, I don't remember if it's monthly or yearly, but it's relatively cheap for something that's so broad you could use it across all of your client accounts. Quora, obviously, if you use this to see sort of like the Q&As, kind of like the hip Yahoo Answers. A lot of journalists who are on there, they actually post their contact information. So if you go through there, because they're using this to find, sources, they're using it to do research. If you look at their profiles, you'll be able to see their contact information. You can reach out, offer to be that source for them. So it's an easy way to make those contacts. Because what we're seeing, I think, in the SEO world is it's a lot more relationship based now. So it's a lot of it, and that's where social comes into it, right? And so you're going to need to start reaching out to people again and finding a way to manage that process and leveraging the relationships that you already have. That's the thing that people forget. You need to keep track of who on your team already has been talking to someone. So 6 months goes by, you need to go back and either add another link, fix the link that they have. You need to know who on your team already has a relationship, so you're not starting from scratch again, and they're not feeling insulted because you don't remember who they are. Topsy, this is really good to do for competitors. You drop in their link. Let's say you put in a big blog post that they have. Maybe they released a tool, like let's say when we release Schema Creator. What I would do if I was a competitor is grab our blog post announcement, drop it in Topsy, see everybody who's talking about it, see what blog posts were written about it, and then reach out to them and try and get those links. You can do it for your own posts as well, because we always miss some of our links, and this is a great way to keep track of that. And then this bottom one, and like they said, it's a free, it's the cheapest link you guys will buy this year. It's true though. I mean, we sponsor a lot of conferences, and what we're getting, it is technically a paid link, but we're getting links out of it. If you're just a member in an association, a lot of them will include links to it. So making sure when you have clients in a particular industry that you're going to those associations, finding ways that you can sponsor. Maybe it's a nonprofit that's in that particular niche that you can get these links from because they're really strong on-topic links.
Would a search marketing association be a good idea?
I think that's a great idea, actually.
Free links to members.
Yeah, free links to members. I mean, and guys, going back to if you are trying to decide, if you consider the fact, and like I said, I go to a lot of shows. The ticket for a conference is like $1,500, and then you have all the travel, all the food, and when they're located in New York City and Las Vegas, that gets expensive really quickly. And so if you can have this, really good content at these localized, it'll really pay for itself, especially for that price. So I would definitely do it. Analytics tools. Are any of you guys intimidated by Google Analytics when you go in there? Let me rephrase that. You've set up Google Analytics on your site. You put in the tracking script. It's on all your pages. Maybe you put it in the header like you should. Maybe you put it in the footer like you thought you should. But in reality, you did that, and maybe you added a goal or two, and that's the extent of it. Is that pretty much how it goes for everybody? When you go in there, you think, all right, I've done the basic setup, I'm going to start going through all this data, but now I have to try and make sense of it. But the problem with analytics is, much like pay-per-click, you're scared to go through and start tweaking things because you might break it. And there's data that you lose that you can't get back. And that's really intimidating. So when we were trying to track a lot of advanced things on our own website, and when we have these, these schema creators and the tool that I'm going to show you, these microsites, I don't want to have to go to 3 different Google Analytics profiles. I want to be able to do cross-domain tracking and see all the traffic in one profile. I'm sure a lot of your clients who do microsites, they run into that same problem, but we don't know how to do it. And if you go to the Google Help Index, Jesus Christ, they keep things from like 2006. And so you go there and like, all right, well, there's 10 different ways for me to implement this. I have absolutely no idea which one's right. And they talk to you as if you were one of the founders of Google Analytics who did all the back-end coding, and you have any idea how to track that, especially if you do the social tracking. You know how they have +1 in GA now? If you try and do it on Twitter and Facebook, if you just look at that help page, it's disgusting. You're like, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, even if you have a little bit of a developer background. And so this is the problem I was running into, and everybody, all the analytics blogs out there, they all have these great ideas on how they would implement it, and they're all different. And they're all different from the help index, and so I just was fed up, I was like, I just want to know the one way to do it that'll work. I don't need to know something fancy, I just need to know that it's not going to break anything. And so I created GA config, and it's a free tool out there, and there's 17 different configuration options. I think most of them are around events, so coming up with, tracking Facebook shares and tweets, but doing some cross-domain tracking or multiple domains with subdomains. I mean, there's a lot of variations. It's doing something simple like tracking 404 pages so that you can find out links that are going there. So you can, what's really cool if you track your 404 pages in Google Analytics and you segment by it, you see, all right, we've had, let's say 100 visitors to there, you can see the referrals. And I can say, oh, well, we have all these links that are just pointing to our 404 page that we're not taking advantage of, so then you can benefit from that from an SEO perspective in addition to improving the user's experience. So you go here, all you need to know is your Google Analytics account number. Hopefully you know the site that you're working on. And then whether you're using the traditional ga.js or the async setup, most people I assume would be using the async setup. And so just with 3 clicks of a button, we tell you the code that you need, where you need to put it. You don't have to worry about privacy because it doesn't save any information. It's just a straight up free tool for you to use to make that process easier. So hopefully you guys will try it. I was really happy when we got it out there. I'm going to keep improving it. I have a lot of ideas. I want to have a regular expression checker. I want to have a way to crawl your site and tell you if you're missing tags anywhere. I was telling Aaron when I was at Affiliate Summit doing a SEO audit panel, and there was somebody there who, like, we don't get traffic to anywhere but our homepage. And I was like, that's weird. So I started looking at their code, and I'm like, you don't have Google Analytics on any page but your homepage. But the sad thing is they had like 2 years worth of blog posts there, and I'm like, so every, let's say you look at it every month you log in and you're like, man, nobody likes any other page on our site but our homepage. This is bizarre. I mean, we're writing to nobody. And you see blog comments there, but you're still not putting that together. So, so this tool, hopefully we'll have that. I know there are other tools out there, but again, kind of consolidating that. So give it a try. If you have recommendations, there's a feedback button at the bottom that goes directly to me. I'd love to know what other things you want to configure to make your life a little bit easier. But what I have found that the problem with marketers when it comes to analytics, and this is the same thing that I said before, is we're not creative enough. So we know what to look for. We know we want to look at goal completions. We know we just want to say, all right, well, what is our bounce rate for this specific page? We're looking at the basic engagement metrics. But the problem that we have is we don't start asking questions. So we see a goal completion. I see that, everybody's coming to the Raven Tools homepage, and let's say, 20% of them go through and sign up. But I'm not asking myself why. Why is 20% signing up on X product page and only 5% on this other one? What is different about them? And that's what we are failing to do. And you can really get a good hypothesis around what's causing that just by looking at this. So then you can move on to something like Website Optimizer and start testing what variations you want. But you need to start coming up with these questions so that you know how you can improve on everything. And it will really help you from an SEO perspective, because I have to believe you guys also agree that Google is looking at what they're doing on your site. I mean, you have Google Analytics on your site. They came through, you have +1 buttons everywhere. I mean, they know exactly what people are doing on your site. And when somebody clicks through to it and they're not doing anything but leaving, they know that it's not that relevant. You're going to start to see drops in your rankings and ideally your traffic. And that's also a question that we get asked a lot, is what we think about rankings, especially with how much they've changed recently. You have Google Plus just destroying them, and then you have just universal in general. I mean, nothing is ever the same. Aaron and I were talking about, you said that, you'll look at local, and sometimes it's up here, sometimes it's, over here on the side, sometimes it's just a couple of them are injected in the middle. You never see the same thing twice. Like you said, sometimes even in the same day. And that will drive you crazy. And I think what you're going to see with a lot of the rank checkers out there is it's going to be harder and harder for them to keep track of this, not just from a logistical standpoint, like it's really hard to make sure that you're updating it once a day and giving an accurate number. I think Google's going to make it even harder for them to keep track of. Because they've always said, well, they haven't always said, that's the horrible thing about it. They used to give everyone free, you could apply for an API access to that. That's how Raven started tracking rankings. We applied for it. They said, all right, we reviewed your site. You guys can have access to the API. You can actually check the rankings. We knew they'd be accurate. We became one of the bigger rank checkers out there. And then they're like, nope, taking it away. We know you just built, this great tool, you've invested tons of hours in it, it's gone. And so what they're trying to do is squash that. And so you all need to be prepared for the day where your rankings are even more inaccurate than they are now, and you really can't go by them. And I'm hoping that you're already focusing on analytics, you're looking at the social interactions, you're just looking at engagement as a whole, and this is more of a measurement tool. You're looking for red flags. You want to see if you made a big change, if it did have an impact, but just not relying on this like we see a lot of people say. They say they want daily rankings, and I'm just like, you don't need to look at it daily. We pull them weekly, even if you're looking at them weekly, that's plenty. And so hopefully you guys are going to migrate towards that as well. But a few tips for maximizing your analytics value. If you recall, in Google Analytics, they actually give you categories for your goals. So take advantage of that. Actually organize your goals by category. So just a couple of recommendations. You could have your general ones, so the ones that basically do your typical conversion. You can have your transactional ones, so if you want to look at your cost per transaction. Not all of these are goals that you would actually end up setting up in Google Analytics, but as a whole, everybody agrees that these are the goals that we're tracking, and then you need to come together and decide the best way, what numbers you want to be targeting, because you can get this data in Google Analytics if you set it up right. And when it comes to I spoke about website redesign. So if you go through the whole website redesign process, which is the most painful process anybody could ever go through, because everybody has an idea what they want it to look like, what they want it to do. It's just a mess, and nothing ever gets done. This is one of the first steps you guys should all be agreeing on. If you are going through that process, hopefully everybody's on the same page at your company, your clients are on the same page, but making sure that you are looking at more than just your traditional goal completion. To help you along with that, I have some conversion tools that I think you guys might like. There's a ton of conversion tools out there. I tried to segment ones that I've played with that have been recommended to me that I think you guys will like and that won't break the bank. Usability Hub, this one's really awesome because it's not too expensive, it's $20 and up, but you get access to 3 different tools. If you've heard of 5-second test, it's one of the better tools out there to check to see if people actually understand what your website's about. Again, this is really important for SEO too, because it's awesome if you get a ton of traffic, but if nobody takes action, it doesn't mean anything. It's just, that whole pride thing that you're looking for. You want to know that, hey, a lot of people care about our website. So there are 3 different tools that you can do. You can make sure that everybody understands your whole navigation scheme. Like I said, it's only $20 a month, and you can either do public tests or you could do private. So if you want to make sure that you get the most on-target users, which is what you should be doing, you can run private tests here. And if you're like, well, how do I find these users? There's a lot of ways you can do it. You can reach out and just find people in your own community. Offer to give them a $50 Starbucks gift card. People will do anything for a Starbucks gift card. And they'll come running to you, and just keeping track of that. One of the ones that I forgot to put on here that I wish I would have, if you have a Mac, instead of paying to go to like a studio where you can record every flinch of their face to see what they actually think about your website, because the idea behind usability testing is you want them to think out loud. You want them to say, all right, this is what I actually think about your site. Well, that's why you keep track of their face, because they're not used to actually talking out loud like that. Well, if you use Silverback app, it's for Mac only, and it's an actual application. It will use the camera on your Mac to record the whole user session. They record the flow of their mouse, and it's using the audio to record it. So you basically were like you rented out a $1,000 studio to do your test. Just maybe you did it in Starbucks. Wherever you ended up doing it, you could conduct it right from your computer. Feedback Army, also with usability, do not overlook the great keyword research that you can do here, because when I put in a test, even if I don't plan on testing it, maybe I just look for keyword research ideas, I put up a page and I tell them, I just have one question, can you please describe what we do? And then I get to see what words they're using to describe what we do, and I see all these great keywords that I didn't think of, because we all have this, I call it professional blindness, where, especially it's starting to happen to us a lot at Raven, where we're so familiar with what we call things that nobody else knows what we're talking about. And this is something that's hard for us to overlook. We think that everybody's looking for internet marketing platform, and that's just corporate talk. They're looking for SEO tools, or they're looking for social media tools, and this is a great way to get insight into that. $20, and only takes 8 days to get your feedback, and you're guaranteed to get 10 responses. Visual Website Optimizer, this is a good alternative to Google Website Optimizer too. They have great Google Analytics integration. You can do some A/B tests, split tests, only $49 a month. And it's in real time, which is really, really fun if you have enough traffic to support that. And then finally, 4Q survey. I go back and forth on what I think about surveys, but actually having a survey up on your site so you can keep track of what people are saying about the experience. You're getting people who are on topic. Maybe you just put this on your blog because you know that chances are they probably aren't going to convert. They're just there for the information. You can get some good feedback from them. It's only $19 a month, and it ties into Google Analytics, so you can actually keep track of how many people are filling out the form. Maybe they're rating things. Good.
So what tools are a waste of time?
So what tools are a waste of time? That's a good question. I think the more that tools that don't end up working with other ones end up wasting more of your time because you're having to spend a lot more time going through and saying, all right, well, if we have this data here, or, we did this work over here, now we have to try and find a way to make it talk to this other tool set so that we can make the connections that we're looking for. That ends up taking up a lot of your time, and so you're going to see a lot more of these platforms that will help speed up that process for you. Good.
So we know about MnSearch's 90% rule with tools and people running the tools.
I'm not familiar with that specific rule, no.
He says that 10% of your budget should go into the tools, and then 90% of the people that run the tools. So with all these options here, how would an SEO balance all of
the tools and
that they could possibly do versus actually getting things done?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is, Avinash has this 90-10 rule where 10% of your budget should go to your tools and 90% to the people who use them. And so when it comes to these tools, I think that they're all relatively cheap enough where it really shouldn't tie into too much of your budget. What I would do is, if you're just starting out in this area or looking for just a couple tools, try and pull one from each of these areas. If I could recommend, the areas to focus on, it would be the usability tools, and this is ignoring the free tools. And then I would move over to your link building tools because those are going to end up saving you the most time. That's the most painful process, figuring out who to contact, which sites will provide the most value, so you'll end up getting the most bang for your buck with that. Any other questions?
What are some of the most intelligent tools you've shown?
Some of the most intelligent tools. I think Open Site Explorer and Majestic's data is incredibly intelligent because if you consider what you used to have to do just using Yahoo Site Explorer to figure out which tools will, which links will give you the most value, it never was that easy. Well, now, we can see which links, what pages on a certain site are getting shared the most even. So if I put in a domain like Raven and I want to figure out, all right, what link do I want to get from Raven? Well, I can see on this specific page it's gotten, 200 plus ones, it's gotten 200 tweets or whatever. I know that this is the page out of all the ones on the site that I should be focusing on. And I think that we're getting tools that are smarter at figuring out the contacts, who you need to be reaching out to. BuzzStream and Raven, we both, we partner with a third party that we can't disclose because they don't want Google to find out. That basically, here's the best person on your site that's not just the person who registered the domain, because you don't want that webmaster at whateverdomain.com. You want somebody who actually works there. And so this tool will spider the site, find out, it'll actually even check LinkedIn, give you email address, title, full name of the person, so you can reach out and not look like an ass when you're just like, dear sir, it'll actually save you that kind of time. Anything else? Yeah, in the back. So the question is, how would I recommend that we adjust or not adjust our strategy based on the Google Plus factors that are now out there? I mean, the fun thing about Google is you are their fiddle and they get to play you all day, and whatever they decide to make you do, you have to learn to adjust to it. And so I think the best thing that you need to do is go in there being flexible. Know that at any time there might be something that's new that's been introduced to it. And I think, everybody says that SEO changes all the time, and we all like to think that, this is the most interesting job in the world. But in reality, the basics have always been there. As long as you were focusing on the user, everything else ended up working out for you. If you wrote good content, then you got the links. If you created a user-friendly site, then you probably had a nice structure there. If you created content that was worth sharing, so you would get those plus ones, then you're already set up for that. So you won't freak out, if they make up some kind of change. So I think if you stick to focusing on the user, like they say, I know it's kind of a lame answer, but you will end up setting yourself up with not actually running into anything, any problems. Yeah.
Are there any good resources for just SEO basics?
Good resources for SEO basics. I think the one that most people go to is SEO.mov. I mean, they have a great community that, first of all, they have a lot of great blog posts for you. Then they have a lot of guides that they've created to help walk you through it. And then a good forum community where you can ask a question and get feedback from multiple people. And I think that's the most value that it adds, is being able to go there, and if you don't have a team to bounce your ideas off of, going there and say, hey, what do you guys think of this strategy? Or, you know, I've really run into this one problem, how would you recommend going around it? You're going to get a lot of value there. I know Distilled is launching a online university, so kind of think Market Motive, but with the Distilled people instead. And so that's an option there, and like I said, Market Motive, that's a good one too. I've gone through a couple of their courses, and it's actually really good content, and it's self-paced, which will help you a lot as well.